Welcome back to another episode of the Creator Following Podcast. Today, I would like to talk about something very near and dear to my heart, and that is advocacy, why it matters to creatives. I talked about 3 hobbies that you can do in order to lead a healthy creative life. And one of those hobbies was to do something or create something in order to pour into other people and to bless other people. Well, advocacy is that pretty much in a nutshell, but it's just something bigger than yourself. And I feel like creatives need to, from time to time, pour out into something huge to make them feel more connected to the outside world and to make them make new connections. Creatives are problem solvers and naturally feel the need to change the world. And changing the world is a very good start when it comes to advocacy. You've got the world, which is a big place full of billions of people, but then you also have your world. And I feel like your world is so much more accessible, so let's start there. Helping on a larger scale can become something magical and awesome. And I feel like whenever you have values and other missions that you can pour into, these things just have a way of exponentially helping other people, providing community for each other, and you can literally just fuel something even further whenever you get your hands dirty and you get in there and you help. I'd like a little caveat time. Whenever you are being an advocate, it is very important to be smart about it. Make sure that you know what the organization that you pour into actually does. There have been countless organizations that thought they were doing good in a community, but unfortunately, because of the way that they don't educate themselves on how the systems in those communities work, especially if it's a community outside of your country, it can be devastating to a ecological system as far as how things work in that area. Be sure that you're doing your research and that you know exactly what your organization does and that it is actually helping the community that it means to help and not hurting it. Galatians 6:2 says, "Bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ." Jesus was an advocate. He spoke up for the people in his area, wherever he was at. And I feel like what this is saying is that we need to help each other and literally work side by side in order to take the voices of the people that don't have a way to speak to the masses. Luke 6:38 says, "Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For with the measure you use it will be measured back to you." Proverbs 3:27 says, "Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, when it is in your power to do it." So with that caveat that I had in mind earlier, 2 good books to read are God and Money and When Helping Hurts. I believe these are really good books when it comes to giving, when it comes to being an advocate, and when it comes to helping people financially in order to have the proper perspective so that when you're being an advocate, you're being a good steward of your resources, and so they can go even further than you could ever think possible. So you might have some ideas of some organizations and charities that you can pour into, But I realized that sometimes people just kind of get scared about giving money because they're not usually willing to do the research or think that maybe an organization isn't telling them everything. I do have a few organizations that I like to pour into in any way that I can, and I'd like to share those with you. The first one is coloradogives.org. Winston Churchill said, "We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give." I feel like Colorado Gives is a good organization because it pools together a lot of the local charities and local nonprofits that they have rigorously interviewed in order to find out whether or not you will be a good advocate if you give to these charities or give to these nonprofits. It is a really good resource, and I'm pretty sure every state probably has something like this. So if you don't live in Colorado, just look up your state and then maybe giving or an organization, and you'll probably find an organization that actually does the research for you and gives you all that information, all the websites that you need. The second organization I'd like to highlight, I actually know personally, and that is the secretplacehome.org. This organization helps victims of sex trafficking. Charles Dickens said, "None is useless in this world who lightens the burdens of another." This organization helps victims of sex trafficking with a place to live, learning an occupation, and then they also provide court fees for litigations and pursuing their assailants. They've also helped the area in which they are located in order to apprehend people that could be doing this activity and perpetuating the abuse of lots of girls, young women, children, and the like. So I personally love this organization, and I love to pour money into this organization when I can. It helps me to know that they're making the world a safer place. And the last organization I'd like to highlight is To Write Love on Her Arms. You can find them at twloha.org. Anne Frank said, "No one has ever become poor by giving." I am a super advocate for preventing suicide because I personally have known a few people to take their life. It is also something that I feel is near and dear to the creative community because a lot of us suffer from depression and mental anguish and don't get to talk about it very often. And I feel like whenever I give to an organization like this, it helps me to know that these people are helping people overcome their battles of the mind and of the soul and heart. And it helps me to know that I am providing a way for people to get help, especially as a creative and leading the creative life. So I hope all of this has helped you to think of a bigger picture when it comes to being an advocate and to giving and to blessing other people with what you can do and what you can give. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please do so. I have provided the links below in the description. And in the future, I hope you'll join me when I go to episode 10, which will be an interview style podcast. And I hope that this episode has helped you kind of think of your world as a bigger place, even though your immediate world seems small. You can do some really big things if you're just willing to help and willing to give. All right, guys, I hope you have a great day and a great week. We'll see you next time. Bye. Dude. All right. And, okay, in the description. Oh. The second organization I'd like to highlight is and it is an innate feeling. Ugh, good Lord. They're telling us to stop. The secret home. Oh my gosh. Good.